Great. Any questions from the members, from the committee members? Hearing and seeing none, we would like to invite the public for any testimonies that you would like to give to this body to consider. You have 2 minutes to provide that testimony. Hearing and seeing none, we're still waiting for one more senator to join us before we can act on this, so we're still acting as a subcommittee. So we will, at this point, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Can you do a card? We always reach out, learn as much as we can in the beginning on this. Thanks very much.
You can vote. I suspect you
Let's go ahead and call item 120, California Department of Transportation Maintenance Program. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair and members, I'm requesting an audit of the State Department of Transportation to examine the maintenance program. Caltrans appear to be overlooking the needs of the highways that runs through districts such as mine. The freeway on-ramp, off-ramp in the communities are in bad conditions, it seems. I believe that Caltrans should focus more of its resources and efforts on maintaining the on and off ramps across the entire region, not just more of the affluent areas, which I often see in this particular case. This audit will help us to better understand how Caltrans makes spending decisions at every level, particularly when it comes to prioritizing projects. The audit will also examine the process to determine the allocations of funds to particular projects. I am of the mind that there may be some additional resources within Caltrans budgets to address these conditions that I see that is necessary. This is not an audit of the entire highway operating and protection program, nor is it the State Transportation Improvement Program. The maintenance programs provides funding for routine care and maintenance of highway, pavement, roadside, landscape, litter removal, and rest stops. I believe that this audit will maintain programs could identify insufficiencies and additional funds that may be available to address the problems that exist that I see throughout California and other areas. Furthermore, this audit will update the body on how Caltrans is managing its program resources. Members, I simply want to ensure that the Caltrans is operating to its maximum efficiency. I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Assemblymember Gibson indicated, this would be an audit of the Department of Transportation, Caltrans, their maintenance program. He's specifically asked us to look at 5 fiscal years. So he's asking us to go back through fiscal year 2010 through 2010-11 through 2014-15, specifically looking at funding with respect to that, the actual estimated proposed expenditures for their maintenance program. And as he indicated in his opening remarks, what are the sources of funding for this particular program, and is Caltrans maximizing any opportunities to provide additional resources to this program, maximizing the funding for the maintenance program. In addition, his interest is understanding how Caltrans allocates the funding among the districts in California, the various Caltrans districts, how that decision-making occurs and what methodology do they use. Have they modified their methodology? What factors do they consider in determining how much to allocate to each of the 7 districts? In addition, with respect to the districts, to the extent possible, we do have a caveat here, but we will do the best we can as far as trying to collect socioeconomic demographics. He's interested in demographics for each of those districts that receive funding to see if there's any correlation there. So to the extent we can get that information, we will certainly do so. In addition, Mr. Gibson has asked us to look at 3 districts specifically noting that he would like us to visit District 7, which is Los Angeles, Ventura County, so we will include District 7 as one of the 3 districts, and then we'll select 2 others. At each of those districts, a variety of elements he's interested in having us assess. First of all, the methodology used by each of those districts to estimate and propose what maintenance expenditures, what projects they will pursue during the course of that particular fiscal year we're looking at. In addition, looking at how well the program is managed. What goals did they have? What projects did they expect to complete? And how well are they managing that? Are they completing those projects on time and certainly within budget? Also looking to determine if there's any backlogs. Why are there backlogs? What's the rationale for that? Are the costs for the projects reasonable? Are there cost overruns, et cetera? All of those objectives specifically tie back to each of those 3 districts. In addition, at those districts, looking at a sample of expenditures to make sure that the expenditures they are incurring are reasonable, are allowable, and really support the program and the goals and objectives of the particular program. With respect to hiring contractors, what's their process for doing so? How well are they monitoring those contractors and evaluating the work that those contractors are performing on behalf of the specific district? The last objective related to those 3 districts is with respect to positions. As Mr. Gibson indicated, he wants to know, are there vacancies within each of those districts? If there are, how long have those vacancies been, those positions been vacant? What impact, detrimental impact, if any, has there been on that division or that district's ability to complete their projects, certainly on time and on budget? So specifically asking us to look at that. The last objective he asked us to look at is to, again, back at Caltrans at headquarters, as you, I'm sure, are well aware, the state of California received significant money through the Recovery Act, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Caltrans received multiple billions of dollars with respect to this. And there is some ERA money that Caltrans, the time frame that Caltrans had to expend those dollars exceeded many of the other programs, and that was when the Recovery Act was enacted. There was understanding that transportation projects typically take longer than just a few years. So he's asking us, does Caltrans have plans in place to make sure that we as a state do not allow any monies to be reverted back to the federal government? So if there is money remaining from the Recovery Act allotment that California received for our transportation projects, does Caltrans have plans in place to use those funds so that we don't lose those monies and they actually revert back to the federal government? The budget for this audit is 3,300 hours. This will take us, I think we'll put 1 team. We may decide to put 2 teams on this because we're going to 3 districts. So it will take us, depending on whether I put 2 teams or 1 team on it, probably 6 to 8 months. If I put 2 teams, obviously I'll get it done more quickly. And again, we have the resources available to commence all 3 audits if they all are approved, and I certainly have resources to assign more than 1 team to the audits. With that, Mr. Chair, I can answer any questions members may have.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. Before we go to that, any witnesses in support of the audit? Any witnesses in opposition to the audit? There's an agency that's involved here. Any representatives from the agency who wish to comment?
Good morning, members. Melanie Perrin, Assistant Deputy Director for Legislative Affairs for Caltrans.
Good morning, members. Tony Tavares, Chief of the Division of Maintenance for Caltrans. We welcome this opportunity to be transparent and to collaboratively work with this committee and the state auditor on providing any requested data and information related to the maintenance program. The maintenance program allocates resources on a statewide basis. Our allocations are provided to every Caltrans district, and we are investing in every Senate and Assembly district statewide. We are underinvesting in all our districts as we do not have enough funding to accomplish all of our priorities. The governor yesterday announced that he is establishing a legislative special session to review transportation funding needs, and we look forward to cooperating closely with the members of that legislative session.
Thank you. Before we go to member questions, let's go ahead and establish our quorum.
Assemblymember Gibson.
Present.
Mr. Gibson. Assemblymember Ashajan.
Here.
Mr. Ashajan. Assemblymember Baker.
Here.
Ms. Baker. Assemblymember Campos.
Here.
Ms. Campos. Assemblymember Jones.
Here.
Mr. Jones. Assemblymember Nazarian. Assemblymember Rendon.
Here.
Mr. Rendon. Senator Roth.
Here.
Mr. Roth. Senator Beal. Bell. Mr. Bell. Senator Cannella. Senator Fuller.
Here.
Ms. Fuller. Senator Galgiani.
Here.
Ms. Galgiani. Senator Lara. Senator Leyva.
Here.
Ms. Leyva.
We have a quorum. Members, we're talking about item 120, California Department of Transportation Maintenance Program. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Campos.
Thank you. First of all, Mr. Gibson, I wish I would have thought of this because this has been an area that I've worked with on the past 16 years, but I'm more than eager to see what happens. All the criteria that you laid out will give us a clear indication of where, and I know that you're only auditing 3, but hopefully that'll give us a clear indication if there's a pattern of where they're spending or not spending. The city of San Jose has the 3rd worst roads in the nation, not even in California. And it's timely that we start putting resources in this particular area. As we know, our California continues to grow. Big urban cities continue to be more dense, so it would give us a clear indication of what is needed, where the gaps are, and also in listening to Caltrans' opening statement, there may be a gap in funding, but we won't know that until we go through this process, or we could find out that there's been misallocations of where money is being spent or not spent. So I really do welcome this. The other thing that I wanted to ask is, in a question form, is in the criteria that you're talking about when you talked about looking at demographics, social economics, and collecting that data. When you look at some of the bigger cities, we know that underserved communities are specifically in certain areas, but they can be surrounded, when you're looking at it from a county, of wealth. So I hope that when you think about where you're going to spend your energy in the other 2 audits, that you look at that very closely, that the wealthier communities don't overshadow the underserved communities and wipe that particular county out to be part of the audit.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, when we review the, as I said, to the extent possible, but when we collect that socioeconomic information and look at how the monies are being allocated, we will consider that as a factor. There are going to be a variety of factors to look at, but that was something that we were discussing as we were preparing this audit analysis. If we're doing demographics by Caltrans district, you're absolutely right. There could be a district that has a mix of, wealthy community versus an underserved community. So, to the extent we can get that information and use that as one of the factors in determining what other 2 districts we visit, we will absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Any other member questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, also for a great audit request. I think all of us would like to do whatever we can to see how efficiently we are spending our transportation dollars and how they're being prioritized. I too have questions about the demographic information that is the subject of this. To make sure, first of all, where will you get this data? Is this something that Caltrans already has? And I'll just say, my hope would be it is a rigorous process that is complete information and that you are going to get an appropriate and accurate snapshot of what you're looking for. So where would the data that you would need to be looking for come from? And secondly, what will it include? Is it just, is it going to be different affinity groups and groups with different cultural backgrounds? Is it going to be socioeconomic solely? Can you comment more on that? And I have a few additional follow-up questions on this topic.
Certainly. Well, I think we would first look to Caltrans for any information they have, but going beyond that, we would use census information, information from any other state agency. I think some of the, specifically what Mr. Gibson has asked us to look at is the socioeconomic demographics as far as the various regions in the state and with respect to each of the districts, because I think, and he can comment on this, is his concern is Caltrans considering that when they are allocating, is it considered as part of their methodology for allocating funding to the various districts for the maintenance program in particular? But I can't tell you off the top of my head all the places we would look for demographic information, but certainly I would start with census information. Any other information the Department of Finance may have, we'll look and try to figure that out. But his specific request really did focus on socioeconomic demographics, so that's really what we were going to focus our efforts on.
Okay, and just thank you. And to clarify, the audit does or does not look at whether or not Caltrans includes demographic or socioeconomic information in its prioritization. It does or the audit does or does not include that?
That will absolutely. We will be asking that question because what we want to understand is what is their methodology? What are the factors they consider when they're determining how much to allocate to each of the districts? And I think a follow-up question to that is, do they modify that methodology over time based on changes in demographics or changes in the region, the various districts in the state of California? So yes, we would be asking Caltrans those types of questions.
But the audit, I imagine, does not address should Caltrans consider that. Mm-hmm. That seems to be more of a policy. This isn't an audit that will have you making a judgment in that area, or it's right. To gather the data. To start with, and the should remains with this body. It's not the subject of the audit.
Right. What our job, I believe, is to bring you the information. You're the policymakers, but bring you enough information so that you could make a policy decision. If they are not considering that, and we're able to give you information as part of this audit, then it will be up to the legislature to decide. We need to direct Caltrans or the administration to consider socioeconomic factors or to come up with new allocation methods that consider that if they don't now. Absolutely.
And my final follow-up. How much of the project hours and time and expenditures that you are identifying as part of this audit would go towards this demographic component?
I don't have the specific. We do budget each of the objectives that way. I don't recall off the top of my head how many hours we budgeted for that particular objective. We can get you that information.
Do you sense that it is not the majority of the audit that you're undertaking? I think we share the concerns certainly on many of these points, but where the inefficiencies are, my sense is a larger portion of this request. I don't want to direct it that way if that's not where it is. But
no, I think the majority of the work majority of these hours will be going into the three districts we visit. I mean, certainly we want to start at headquarters and understand, are they maximizing the full amount of funding that would be available for them to allocate out to the district? So we've got to do a fair amount of work at headquarters, but I think the majority of the work, the effort, will be put in at those three districts that we visit as far as looking at what their methodology is at the district level, because once the headquarters allocates down to District 7, for example, then District 7 is making decisions about, okay, what maintenance projects do we want to complete this year or over the course of the next 2 years, and then how are they managing those projects. So the vast majority of the hours will be spent at the district level.
Understood. Thank you. I'm pleased to support this very good audit request and move for its approval.
Any other member questions? It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll. This is item 120, California Department of Transportation.
Aye.
Aye.
Campos. Jones. Nazarian. Rendon. Senator Roth.
Aye.
Bell. Cannella. Fuller. Galgiani. Laura. And Leyva. Yes.
That item is approved and is out. Next, we will take up audit request 2015-117, the Department of General Services Real Estate Services Division. That was presented by Member Irwin. It's been properly moved in second. Properly moved in second. Secretary, please call the roll.
Assembly Member Gibson.
Aye.
Ashajian. Baker. Campos. Jones. Jones, aye. Nazarian. Rendon. Rendon, aye. Senator Roth.
Aye.
Roth, aye. Senator Bell. Bell, aye. Senator Cannella. Cannella, aye. Senator Fuller. Fuller, aye. Senator Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Senator Laura. Senator Leyva. Leyva, aye. It passes.
That item is out. Next, we will go to item number 2015-115, dual status for youth, and it was presented by Member Eggman. I entertain a motion. It's been properly moved in second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Assembly Member Gibson.
Aye.
Gibson, aye. Ashajian. Ashajian, aye. Baker. Baker, aye. Campos. Campos, aye. Jones. Jones, aye. Nazarian. Rendon. Rendon, aye. Senator Roth. Roth, aye. Bell. Bell, aye. Cannella. Cannella, aye. Fuller? No. Fuller, no. Galgiani? Aye. Galgiani, aye. Laura? Senator Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye.
That item has been approved. There's no other business before this committee. We stand in adjournment. Thank you.